Oh, there we go. The numbers are slowly starting to filter in now. So just as everyone's still joining, we're going to give a nice 5-minute barrier just to make sure we have everyone all on board. So if you guys just want to wait, we'll start all the wonderful hustings process in 5 minutes time. Hi guys, for those that are just slowly joining us, we will be starting just in a couple of minutes time, just leaving it a few minutes just to wait for everyone to filter into the page. Brilliant. So I think we should get going. I think 5 minutes is enough time waiting for everyone to come in. So finally, good evening and welcome everyone. This is our first hustings of the year. So it's exciting. It's going to be a two-part process. We have this evening and we have tomorrow evening. This evening we are very, very lucky to be to have our Welsh Affairs, our education, our societies and services, and our president officer candidates. What we'll do is we'll ask each candidate up from each category, where they'll give us a speech just telling us who they are, what they're about, and before they go in and answer some questions prepared from the SU themselves. We'll then open it up to any floor questions. In the chat function, one of my lovely colleagues will give the link to our question submission form, and that's where we can take any questions from the floor. These questions will then be made available to all of our candidates post this, as I'm sure we won't have enough time to be able to get through all these questions. So all of the candidates will be able to address those questions at their own discretion in their own time. Otherwise, we have the first round of officers, which are the Welsh Affairs officers. If I could ask my Welsh Affairs officer candidates to turn their cameras on. Wonderful. So there we go. So our two candidates this evening, we have Hayley Lewis and we have Tom Kemp. So welcome both of you. Again, due to the nature of this, we're going to give you 2 minutes to be able to have your speech. So you have a minute in Welsh and a minute in English. But otherwise, without too many details, I shall say, let's start with Hayley.
Thank you. So, siwmai pawb, fe nhw yw Hayley. Rwy'n astudio cwrs gradd meistr yn gwyddor chwaraeon ar y foment, a dwi hefyd yn gwneud cwrs tar cynradd. Yn wreiddiol dwi'n dod o Rydaman yn Sir Gaerfyrddin, a dwi wedi mwynhau yr pethau newydd a wahanol mae Abertawe wedi cynnig i mi dros y blynyddoedd. Yn ystod fy amser yn y prifysgol, dwi wedi bod yn llysgennad i'r cwrs a dwi wedi dysgu llawer sydd yn lle yn barod a pethau dwi'n meddwl dylai cael ei newid neu datblygu yn adrannau gwahanol neu dros cymdeithasau a clwbiau gwahanol. Rwy hefyd wedi chwarae hoci dros y 4 mlynedd diwetha. Rwy wedi bod ar y pwyllgor chwaraeon am 2 flynedd. Rwy'n Cymro Gymraeg angerddol, rwy'n frwdfrydig a dwi angen cynyddu'r iaith dros y brifysgol a Cymru gyfan. Hi everyone, my name's Hayley. I'm currently studying a Sports Science Masters, Research Masters and a Primary PGC. I also did my undergrad here in Swansea. Originally I'm from Amerford in Carmarthenshire and I've enjoyed the different lifestyle that Swansea has had to offer me. Throughout my time in the uni, I've been a student ambassador, learning different things about the uni, seeing what's in place already and what needs changing or developing. I've been on the part of the hockey club for 4 years, and I've also been on the committee for 2 years. I'm a passionate Welsh speaker, and I'm enthusiastic about increasing Welsh in Wales and the university by using the traditions already in place and enforcing these around the university. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Hayley. That was great. So next up, we have Tom.
Thank you. Siwmai pawb, enw fi di Tom Kemp. Fi yn rhydydd flwyddyn yn astudio deiryddiaeth yma Brifysgol Abertawe ac fi yn wreiddiol o Bontypridd. A fi wedi deheu i weithio fel y swyddog matematig Gymraeg ers fy mlwyddyn cyntaf yn y brifysgol, ac dwi'n cofio hwn oedd y flwyddyn cyntaf i rôl hwn fod yn llawn amser. A mi'n gofio cael teimlo'n rili ysbrydoledig am hwnna. Ac ers hynny fi wedi gwneud amryw o gwahanol bethau, o gweithio gyda'r undeb, gweithio i'r undeb, o'n i hefyd yn llywydd ar Gymdeithas Deiryddiaeth am blwyddyn. Fi hefyd wedi bod yn gweithio gyda y Prifysgol a Academi Hywel Teifi a cyn swyddogion matematig Gymraeg ar gwahanol prosiectau rili diddorol. I adeiladu fy mhrofiad personol, dwi'n credu sy'n hanfodol i bod yn swyddog matematig Gymraeg, a hwn i gyd wrth wneud fy enw yn un adnabyddus o fewn y gymgym ac o fewn y sîn Gymraeg ehangach y brifysgol. Hi everyone, my name's Tom Kemp. I'm a third-year geography student here in Swansea University, but I'm originally from Pontypridd. And I've aspired to be the Welsh Affairs Officer since my first year in university. And I remember being inspired how this role went from a part-time position to a full-time position. I just thought it was really amazing. Since then, I've worked closely with the union. I've worked for the union. I was also the president of the Geography Society for a year. And I've also worked with the university and Academi Hywel Teifi and past Welsh Affairs officers on loads of really interesting and different projects to build up the relevant experience that I think is vital to becoming a Welsh Affairs officer, all while making myself known within the Gymgym and the university's wider Welsh scene.
Brilliant. Thank you for those wonderful 2 instructions. So we're going to move on to our first question. If you need me to repeat it, just please ask and I'll go through again. So for the first question, this role represents both Welsh speakers and non-Welsh speakers at the university. How would you go about fostering an environment in which Welsh culture is brought to the forefront of events held by both the union and the university? What kind of events would you suggest? If we start off with Hayley.
So, fi moyn cynyddu'r traddodiadau Cymraeg mewn prifysgol yn dathlu. Fi moyn wneud pethau fel eisteddfodau dwl sydd yn gallu dod â clwbiau chwaraeon, cymdeithasau, pawb at ei gilydd i dathlu pethau gwahanol, rhywbeth mae'r prifysgol heb wneud o blaen, heb cynnal pawb yn yr un dathliadau. Fi moyn parhau i dathlu traddodiadau fel Dydd Music Cymru, Diwrnod Dewi Sant, Santes Dwynwen, Diwrnod Siwmai, pethau fel la, cadw popeth yn traddodiadol, ond hefyd denu mwy o pobl newydd mewn. Dwi hefyd am cynnal sesiynau cymryd ran, felly fi moyn i dysgwyr neu pobl sydd wedi siarad Cymraeg trwy gydol i bywydau dod mewn i'r sesiynau sydd ddim wedi strwythuro, gallen nhw dod am baned neu unrhyw beth maen nhw moyn, a jyst cael sgwrs yn Gymraeg yn sefyllfa hwylus a jyst rhywle maen nhw'n gallu mwynhau yn defnyddio'r Gymraeg. So I want to increase the traditions that we celebrate in the university. I want to hold things like a silly Eisteddfod where we get sports clubs and societies in together doing something that we haven't done before, but increasing the Welsh scene in the university. So at the moment, I feel like the university is very, if you're Welsh, you're Welsh. If you're English or an international student, whatever, it's separate. I want to use this to do use the Eisteddfod as a Welsh celebration, but use it as you don't have to come and sing a Welsh song. You can come and do some dancing, do something silly on stage and win money or prizes or anything for your club, your society, or for yourself. I also want to do some getting involved sessions where we just have fun speaking and talking about Welsh or Welsh things that people find interesting. These things can be like having a cup of tea and just having a chat somewhere you don't go, where it's not like structured, it's not a lecture, it's not a society or a club where you have to turn up and do certain things. It's somewhere where you can go, you can have fun, and you can just enjoy yourself. That's it for me. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you for your reply, Hayley. That was great. Tom, same question.
Felly, mwyn, I'm going to answer the question in Welsh and then English. So mwyn sicrhau bod diwylliant Cymraeg ar flaen y gad fel petai yn y digwyddiadau dyn ni'n cynnal yn yr undeb a'r prifysgol, mae'n hollol bwysig bod y rai sy'n cynllunio a chynnal y digwyddiadau yn wybodus am ein diwylliant a hefyd yn deall pwysigrwydd hyrwyddo ein diwylliant fel prifysgol yng Nghymru. Felly i wneud hwn, byddwn ni'n licio cynnal yn gyntaf hyfforddiant gyda staff craidd yr undeb a'r prifysgol i ddysgu, deall a hefyd jyst adnewyddu ein gwybodaeth am ein diwylliant a thraddodiadau Cymreig ac yn y gweithio'n agos gyda'r aelodau hynny o staff i feddwl yn sut gallwn ni ymgorffori rain i fewn i'r digwyddiadau rydyn yn cynnal. Mae gen i hefyd profiad o weithio'n agos gyda changen y Brifysgol o'r Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol ac Academi Hywel Teifi ar nifer o brosiectau amrywiol yn ystod fy nghyfnod fel myfyriwr. Ac un o amcanion cyffredinol yr Academi yw sicrhau bod myfyrwyr yn cael profiad Cymreig yn ein prifysgol aml ddiwylliannol. Felly byddwn ni'n parhau i weithio'n agos gyda staff yr Academi i wneud hyn, ac byddwn yn eiliad gynyddu eu amlygiad nhw a chynllunio digwyddiadau ac yn gyffredinol hyrwyddo a chefnogi'r tîm. Felly, wrth feddwl am y math o ddigwyddiadau hoffwn ni'n gynnal, yn y goffennol rwyf wedi cynnal digwyddiadau fel disgwrs distaw a gyfer dydd Music Cymru i ddathlu y diwylliant cerddorol cyfoethog sydd gennym ni yng Nghymru ac i hybu'r sîn gerddoriaeth Gymreig. Ond fel sonioch chi ar ddechrau'r cwestiwn, mae rhaid y digwyddiadau hon hefyd fod yn gymhwysol ar gyfer myfyriwr di-Gymraeg, a gall y rhain fod mor syml a chael viewing parties o ffilmiau Gymraeg fel Pride neu hyd yn oed sioeau comedi falle mwyaf iconic Cymru, Gavin and Stacey. So to ensure that Welsh culture is brought to the forefront of the events held both by the union and university, it's vitally important that those planning and hosting the events are knowledgeable about the culture and understand the importance of promoting this. So to do this, I'd love to host some training, firstly with core staff at the union and the university, to learn, understand, and just refresh generally our knowledge about Welsh culture and traditions, and then work closely with those staff members to think about how we can implement these then into the events that we host. As I mentioned previously, I've got experience working closely with the university's branch of the Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol and Academy Hywel Teifi on various projects throughout my time as an undergrad. And one of the general aims of the Academy is to ensure that students have a Welsh experience in our multicultural university. So I would continue to work closely with the staff at the Academy to do this, aim to increase their involvement in events planning and generally just promote and support the team. So thinking about the type of events that I'd be interested in doing, in the past I've run events like Silent Discos for Dydd Music Cymru to celebrate the rich musical culture that we have in Wales and to promote the Welsh music scene. But as you said, Josh, at the start of the question, these events would also have to be inclusive for non-Welsh speaking students. And these could be just simple events like having a viewing party of Welsh films, so films like Pride that was filmed not far from me back home, or perhaps just a viewing party of probably the most iconic Welsh sitcom, Gavin and Stacey.
Brilliant, thank you both. They were fantastic answers. We're going to move on to the second question now. Again, if you'd like me to repeat it, just let me know. With the new Welsh language laws now in full effect, how would you ensure these are implemented in the university? And we'll go Tom to start this time, please.
Yeah. Felly dath safonau'r Gymraeg newydd mewn i ddim ar y cyntaf o Ebrill 2018 ac erbyn hyn mae gan y Brifysgol tîm o staff sy'n barod yn weithredu ar y safonau yma. Felly os caf ethol, byddwn ni'n gweithio'n agos gyda staff yr Adran Polisi Iaith i sicrhau bod y polisïau mae'r Brifysgol wedi rhoi ar waith yn cael ei gweithredu'n gywir ac yn cael ei monitro a bob amser yn meddwl am ffyrdd o wella'r rhain. Fel y sonies yn flaenorol, rwyf wedi gweithio gyda Academy Hywel Teifi dros blynyddoedd a byddaf yn parhau wneud hwn i sicrhau bod Gymraeg a'r myfyriwr sy'n astudio drwy gyfrwng y Gymraeg yn cael ei trin yn gyfartal a sicrhau nad yw'r iaith yn cael ei drin neu'n weld yn israddol. Achos wedi'r cyfan Brifysgol Dwyieithog ydyn ni. I wneud hwn felly, byddwn ni'n rili licio cynllunio i drefnu croeso Cymreig yn ystod wythnos y glas i arddangos y cyfleoedd y gefnogaeth ac ysbysebiad ysgoloriaethau sydd ar gael i fyfyriwr cyfrwng Cymraeg ac goffa myfyriwr Cymraeg o'r hawliau addysg sydd gyda nhw trwy'r ymgyrch mae gen i hawl. So the new Welsh language standards came into effect on the 1st of April 2018, and by now the university already has a team of staff working and implementing these standards. So if elected, I will work closely with the language policy staff to ensure that the policies the universities have put in place are carried out correctly and are being monitored, and just always coming up and thinking of ways to improve these policies. As I previously mentioned, I worked with Academy Hywel Teifi, and I'll continue to do this to make sure that the Welsh language and those students studying through the medium of Welsh receives equal treatment, because after all, we are a bilingual university. So to do this, I'd love to organise like a Welsh welcome during Freshers Week to showcase the opportunities, the support, and advertise the scholarships that we have here at the university for studying throughout the medium of Welsh, and remind those students studying through Welsh and just those generally Welsh-speaking students there of their educational rights with the My Geni Hawl campaign.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Tom. That was a very thorough and great answer. Same question over to Hayley.
Felly, yn ystod fy ngraddu, nes i gwyddo'r chwaraeon, o dim byd ar gael o gwbl yn y cwrs o ran y Cymraeg. Felly, nes i colli mas ar bydd ariannol y Llywodraeth y Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol a Academi Hywel Teifi, a dwi am newid hyn achos mae llwyth o myfyrwyr Cymraeg yn colli allan ar arian. Felly, bydde fe'n annog pob adran a annog nhw i gwahodd siaradwyr mewn os maen nhw ddim gyda'r staff yn y brifysgol. Dwi hefyd am defnyddio'r ymgyrch 1 miliwn mae'r Llywodraeth yn redeg i helpu cynhyddu'r Cymraeg dim yn y prifysgol, ond yn unig yn y brifysgol, ond o ran Cymru gyfan. Dwi am annog y dysgwyr Cymraeg i defnyddio'r gwersi Cymraeg a ymrad ac am ddim mae'r prifysgol yn y Llywodraeth yn rhoi mas nawr, a annog yr staff a'r myfyrwyr i defnyddio rhain. Dwi'n meddwl, achos dwi'n dod o cefndir chwaraeon, dwi'n meddwl bod e'n rili bwysig bod y clwbiau chwaraeon a'r cymdeithasau i gyd ynglyn gyda'r hyn. Dwi angen fod yr cymdeithasau a'r clwbiau yn defnyddio pwyllgor nhw i gael swyddog Gymraeg ar y pwyllgor mwyn cynyddu'r Cymraeg a dangos ein fod ni yn prifysgol dwyieithog, achos dwi'n meddwl pam dylen nhw fod just hysbysebu bod nhw'n clwb Saesneg, achos ni yn Nghymru, felly dwi'n meddwl dyle'r clwbiau cael y swyddog yma, a dwi'n bwriadu rhoi templedi mas i helpu nhw a darparu cefnogaeth, cynnal sesiynau, helpu nhw datblygu Cymraeg os maen nhw moyn. So, in my time in university, I had no Welsh offering whatsoever for my course. If I went to a different university, I could have had over £3,000 in support from places like the government or Coleg Cymraeg Cenedlaethol or Academi Hywel Teifi, and I want to try and increase these, even if it's just one guest lecture a month or something like that, just slowly increase the Welsh available in all departments across the university, because as Welsh students we shouldn't be held back from not having access to this money. I also want to use the 1 million campaign, which is 1 million Welsh speakers by 2050, because I think that it's a really good thing for Wales to get the language back alive. I want to encourage people learning Welsh to use the free lessons that the government are offering. I want to work with staff and help them increase their Welsh, even if it's just a closing for an email or opening for a lecture. I want to start increasing things slowly, because we are a Welsh university in Wales and we are bilingual. Coming from a sports background, I think it's really important that we get Welsh officers on sports and sports societies and societies. I plan to help societies and clubs by giving them templates to post or a Welsh lesson if they need help. I'm ready to give the support they need just to get this officer in place. I also will work with the sports officer and the societies and services officer to get some sort of never mind.
There we go. Thank you, Hayley. Awesome. So that was great answers to the first two questions. So we're now going to take two questions from the floor. So thank you to our audience and participants for sending them in. The first one that I will answer, I'll put it in the chat as well so you guys can reference it. What support would you implement to aid students wishing to receive learning provision in Welsh? So that's what support would you implement to aid students wishing to receive learning provisions in Welsh? And we'll go back in reverse order. So if Hayley, if you could step up to that one.
To what students, sorry?
To aid students.
Aid. So, felly fi'n meddwl dyle pawb cael yr un cyfle. I think everybody should have the same opportunities. Whether that's coming to a Welsh lesson and I want to make all resources adaptable for all people, whether it's a video that we need to send out or whether it's written or anything that we can do to adapt to you. I think it should be readily available for you because you are a student, so why shouldn't you be able to access it?
Awesome. Yeah, that makes absolute sense. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Hayley. And Tom, same question.
Na ateb yn Gymraeg gyntaf, I'll answer in Welsh first and else in English. What support would you implement to aid students wishing to receive learning provisions in Welsh? So, fel wedys i yn gyntaf, mae'r ymgyrch mae gen I hawl gyda ni. Dath hwnna gyda'r polisi iaith newydd yn 2018. Felly, yn gyntaf, byddwn ni'n licio ail-hyrwyddo'r ymgyrch yna. Achos mae fe'n really pwysig bod myfyriwr Gymraeg yn gwybod eu hawliau o ran addysg Gymraeg. So first of all, like I previously mentioned, I would like to reintroduce the Mae Gen I Hawl policy, which came in with the new language policies in 2018, because these are really important to students for them to know what rights they have within their Welsh education and what Welsh services are available to them.
Brilliant answers, guys. Thank you so much. We now move on to the second question. So the second question from the floor. How will you ensure students are involved in Welsh affairs in a local capacity, specific to the City and Council of Swansea, rather than just on a national scale? So I'll plonk that on the chat for you guys. There we go. So again, how will you ensure students are involved in Welsh affairs in a local capacity, specific to the City and Council of Swansea, rather than just on a national scale? So if we go back in reverse order again, so Tom, we'll start back with you.
Felly, mae gyda Abertawe diwylliant Cymreig I hunan. Pam fi'n meddwl am Abertawe, un o'r pethau gyntaf sy'n dod ar pen fi yw y ffilm, a fi ddim yn licio'r ffilm, ond y ffilm Twin Towns. So, allwn ni wneud pethau fel teithio cerdded o Twin Towns. Mae gafon Stacey di ffilmo cwbl o bethau yn Abertawe. So, athyn ni fel walking tours I weld pa sort of hanes a diwylliant Cymraeg sydd yma yn Abertawe, nid ar raddfa cenedlaethol, fel sy'n cwestiwn. So, when I think of Swansea, Swansea has its own Welsh culture and history that differs from the rest of Wales. And when I think of Swansea, one of the first things that I think of is the film, I must admit it's not my favourite film, but the film Twin Towns. So just an idea that we could do is, go for a walking tour around Swansea and look at the sites of where they filmed Twin Towns. Or I know Governor Stacey has filmed a couple of things here. There's Bay Studios opposite our Bay campus where I know Fox American Productions filmed. So it'd be really cool if we could go and like visit those sites and discover and learn the Welsh history and culture that comes with Swansea.
Brilliant. Thank you for the answer, Tom. That was great. Hayley, same question.
Felly, mae llwyth o pethau wahanol gallwn ni wneud yn yr ardal leol, ond mae pawb yn dod i Abertawe gyda'r bwriad, mae'r traeth yma, mae'r dinas yma. Felly fi moyn creu rhyw fath o cysylltiad o fel ych chi yn gallu cael y gorau mas o'r lle. Dim just, ni yma i mynd i'r prifysgol a mynd mas. Fi moyn creu rhyw fath o perthynas rhwng chi a'r ardal. Os y'n ni'n mynd ar trip neu i'r prif ddinas, neu os y'n ni'n cynnal fel digwyddiad fel yr Eisteddfod yn y prifysgol, rhywbeth chi'n gallu cofio, rhywbeth Cymraeg, a rhywbeth fyddech chi ddim just, ni wedi gwneud hwn o blaen, neu dim rhywbeth sy'n digwydd pob blwyddyn sy'n just yn hen traddodiad. Fi moyn cynyddu traddodiadau newydd, rhywbeth sbri a hwylus. So when you think of Swansea, you think of the beach and the city, and they're kind of like separate things you don't really associate. And I want to build like a connection with them things where you get to, if you come and you've got an idea, you want to go on a trip here, then we can make that happen. We can make new traditions, like the using the Eisteddfod in the university. It's not something that happens all the time. Just something new, something different, something that's going to help you build a closer relationship with Welsh in Swansea rather than just being in Swansea.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much both. That was a fantastic introduction to Hustings and two very, very good candidates for that as well. Normally I'd ask people for a round of applause, but as we're not in person, I can't ask that over Zoom. All I'd ask for you two to do is if you could plonk your social media handles just in the chat function so people can follow your campaign as you go. Otherwise, thank you so much, and you're free to turn your cameras off, guys. Next up, we're going to go into the education officers. So for our education officers, if you could all turn your cameras on. And there we go. Wonderful. So we have Isaac Morris, we have Leslie Magaronga, and we have Luke Mcdonald. Brilliant. Welcome, guys. I know that only two of you can be with us this evening, so it'll just between yourself, Isaac, and Luke. We'll start with the speeches. So Isaac, if you'd like to go first, you have a minute, and off you go.
Hi, I'm Isaac. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm currently studying here in my 4th year. I'm doing an integrated master's in theoretical physics, and I am a subject representative as well as a school representative. And I really love being here and my time here, and I feel like I have done a lot to help my department and then the faculty as a rep. And I've also, alongside that, I'm also been doing a lot of societies, along with founding a couple and then running some since I've started here.
Brilliant. Thank you for that introduction, Isaac. Luke, if you want to take your minute, go ahead.
So hi, my name's Luke Mcdonald. I'm running for the education officer. I'm in my 3rd year studying politics and ancient history, but I'm more sort of focused on ancient history. That's what I'm doing my dissertation in. I'm also a subject rep. I've been a subject rep all 3 years. I was a college rep last year, and I'm a school rep this year. For me, the school reps is a really underappreciated system. They're the main point of communication between students and the university, the union, and students in other schools. And people don't really know enough about the system. The biggest problem I've seemed to encounter from students as a rep is that resolution of issues isn't communicated properly. So students have to bring up the same issues over and over again because they don't know why a problem can't be resolved, which not all can be, but people do need to know that. Otherwise, they lose faith in a system that sometimes they don't know about in the first place.
Brilliant. Thank you, Luke. Yeah, great introduction, both of you. Before we move on to the questions from the Students' Union, I'd just like to refer all of our participants and any viewers back to the question submission form. If you have any sort of questions pertinent to both of our education officers, just drop them into that form that the elections team posted a little further back up in the chat. Otherwise, with that done, we'll move on to our first question of the night. Again, to both candidates, if you wish me to repeat the question, just ask. I will also paste the question into the chat so you can both see it written down. So, first question. With ever-increasing student numbers, what approaches will you take to make sure that the quality of teaching students receive at Swansea stays the same, if not improves? So, with the ever-increasing student numbers, what approaches will you take to make sure that the quality of teaching students receive at Swansea stays the same, if not improves? If we start this one with Luke.
Sure. So for me, I can't overemphasize the importance of the student rep system. That is the way that students communicate with the university, the union, and that's the way that they give feedback. So if something isn't working in a lecture and one school in particular seems to be lagging in the quality, that it comes through the student reps. So having those student reps in place allows them to give that feedback and ensure that the teaching standards are maintained. Likewise, though, if something is particularly working in a school, that needs to be shared as well, which isn't just down to the communications teams who are lecturers and work for the university. It's also for the student reps, which is inter-school communication. So they need to be talking to the student reps of other schools. Again, so that if something is working particularly well or isn't, they can feed that back to their own schools and say, well, this is how they've resolved this problem. Maybe we could try something similar in our school. So, yeah.
Brilliant, great answer, Luke. Isaac, same question. Question again. With ever-increasing student numbers, what approaches will you take to make sure that the quality of teaching students receive at Swansea stays the same, if not improves?
So it's about communication. So it's about relying on the rep system, but not just that, improving different ways. So building on what we currently have and making sure every student's, like, for example, the academic mentoring system, it's a really good way of getting all students to feedback to someone and help better that. And I know as a uni, we're improving and trying that. And personally, I've been helping improve that system and try and get the best experience for all students. And then other ways we can do that is about making sure that events are available for all students and just increasing what we already have and improving on that.
Brilliant, great answer, Isaac. Fantastic. So we're going to move on to question number 2. So question number 2. How would you improve the ways students can give feedback, including on exams? So just to repeat that again, how would you improve the ways students can give feedback, including on exams? And we'll go in reverse order. So Isaac, if you'd like to start.
Yeah. So I have, as a rep, I have been putting in many different systems for students to communicate with me, and as again as a school rep. So I know during these exam periods, I've worked a lot with the union, with the union and the uni itself. We're trying to get the student experience brought forward, and I know I've been talking a lot with the education side of things within the union and emailing the lecturers and keeping, especially during exam season, keeping a constant communication between the departments and the students is vital during exam periods.
Yeah, awesome point, Isaac. Same question on to Luke. So how would you improve the ways students can give feedback, including on exams?
So as a rep, I've sort of seen this question gets asked right after exam periods, but it gets asked to the student reps. And whilst I do love the student rep system, it is very important. It's one area that maybe we shouldn't be relying on the student reps so much. I know that one thing that's come through as an idea perhaps to implement would be something similar to the mid-module feedback surveys, which can be anonymous, and a lot more people have said that they would feel comfortable giving feedback about exams, especially things that maybe haven't gone so well or could have been handled better by lecturers. that would give a much more widespread response, which can then obviously be implemented to improve student experience during exams.
Brilliant. Thank you both. Fantastic. So great answers to both of you. So moving on, we're going to see what questions there were from the floor. So the first one that came up, how do you plan to increase inter-school communication? So that's, how do you plan to increase inter-school communication? I'll plonk that in the chat as well. And if we start with Luke.
So at the moment, this is one of the big things for me, is that inter-school communication isn't that much of a big thing. There are student reps who sit on meetings that happen together, but obviously because of the pandemic, none of that's happened in person. So we haven't really met with reps from other schools. So that kind of level of communication isn't really there, especially when some schools don't have a rep at all. And, you know, I've actually ended up giving feedback from people I know in other schools, because there's no one for them to turn to if a lecturer is giving them problems, and if they've complained and it's not gone anywhere, there's no reps to help them out. So having things go back in person will greatly help within school communications, but obviously that's not the only thing that needs to happen. We need to be telling reps when they're put in place that they need to be talking to other people. We need to give them the contacts of other reps and say, this is what you need to be doing. Talk to each other and learn from each other's mistakes, learn from each other's good ideas. So it is on the reps, but it's not just on the reps. We need to be telling lecturers to be telling students as well. Don't just talk to people in your department. If you meet someone from a different school, talk to them, ask them how things are going in their school. What maybe do you love about what their course is doing?
Brilliant. Thank you for that answer, Luke. Same question over to Isaac. So how do you plan to increase inter-school communication?
This is a big point I mentioned in my manifesto about the communication, because as we've said previously, not all improvements are made between different departments, and it's not just about reps, it's about any lecturer who finds a good technique or think, oh, this is increasing engagement, they should be encouraged to share that, and any teaching forums or any stuff like that, and shouldn't just be reps trying to bring this forwards. And I will work on trying to get that in place, different ways that teachers and lecturers can communicate with each other, about somewhere they can post or talk about different methods and teaching techniques that they're finding good. And maybe that can be done through a departmental system. It would be my job to help work on that. And it's also, from a rep standpoint, I have been working as a school rep and a subject rep, to talking with the other schools. And again, academic mentoring system, for example, it's really good right now in the geography. They have good plans and everything, and that is being communicated now forwards, and I'm working with my faculty to help bring that to the rest of the faculty. And I will then, if I get into this position, I will then push stuff like this forwards into other faculties across the university.
Brilliant. Thank you both. Yeah, really well answered again. Cool. So second question, we've had a lot of questions pop in. In your role as the education officer, you will have to represent all enrolled students. Do you have any experience with representing students? I know both of you are reps, so I'm sure you probably have an extensive amount of experience in this. So Isaac, if I post this question to you first.
Yeah, so I think we both said a lot about this. We are both school reps. We work a lot with the departments and the faculties, talking with each other. We sit on different, I especially sit on different meetings, and I sit on different education meetings. I've sat on one of the teachers. It's all about communication. And I know with the physics department currently, I'm helping set up with one of the newer roles within trying to improve stuff within the department itself and bringing that forward. And I know, as even when I was a school rep, I was trying my best to help other school reps to get the best out of their experience, as school reps, and push that forward. And I know I've been making chats and trying to get best communication I can out of a department before I then went on to become what I am now as a school rep, which represents the members of my faculty, and then bringing that forward and stuff like that. So hand over to Luke.
Yeah, brilliant, Isaac. Yeah, great. I was expecting some very thorough answers from the both of you. So Luke, over to you, same question.
Yeah, like has been said, we've both been reps. I mean, I've been a rep my entire time at uni, and obviously I was a college rep during the pandemic, which was definitely interesting, but it also actually led to us leading some student projects, probably more so than we would have done before, because our role was to try and, well, recreate the idea of being back on campus without being on campus. So I was leading a project for students. It was entirely student-led seminars. And I actually also implemented, or we were together to implement something that I believe came from Isaac's college initially, which is the whole intercommunication thing of having Discord servers. We wanted to set one up for the whole college. The college is now gone. So the idea actually remained within the department, but that was entirely student-led. So we've had a lot of student-led representation, which was all, we came up with the idea and we worked with the subject reps who helped us implement it. But we've also had a lot of stuff with representing students directly to staff. So feedbacks, the 1 or 2 complaints that we've had to deal with as reps because it's come to us. So I've had quite a bit of experience with lecturers and with students representing them.
Awesome, that was amazing, Luke. It's a shame we can't have both of you in the education role, because I feel like you both would work fantastically together. Again, amazing. Just thank you so much for answering the questions, guys. Really well done. All I'd like you to do is, if you get the chance, is to pop your social handles in the chat when you get the chance. So anybody that's interested can click on and have a look. Otherwise, really well done. Close off your screens and we'll move on to the next round. Awesome. Thank you both. Amazing. So thank you for staying with us so far. We are now moving on to our Societies and Services Officer. So this time, if you guys could pop your cameras on. Thank you so much. So we have Amy Shawley, we have Anna Edozen, and we have Gwen Daffis. Welcome all three. So again, we're going back to the speeches, so you guys get a chance to introduce yourselves. You have a minute, so we'll start with Amy.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy and I'm a third year marine biology student. I'm running for Society and Services Officer because for the past 4 years, I have been an active member of several societies, such as the Kickboxing Society, German Society, Aikido, and Swansea University Conservation and Ecology Society. For the past 2 years, I've been a key role of the Swansea Conservation and Ecology Society as Social Secretary and now as President. I am passionate about working with different groups of people, organising events and socials to provide students with new opportunities, amazing memories, and to improve overall student wellbeing. I enjoy working part as a team and receiving student feedback to ensure that all people are included and respected and have their voices heard. I've experienced and witnessed firsthand the impact of COVID on both the student physical and mental wellbeing, the importance of society involvement, as well as how society committees have also struggled. I want to support both the members of societies as well as the committee. I'm running for this position because I want to work with students for the benefit of the students. I want to listen to student feedback and work with the university to improve student life for the better and to be a driving force for any progress that needs to happen. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for that introduction, Amy. I'll pass the question on to Anna. Anna, can you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Anna Edozen. I'm a third year student studying law currently at the university. And I've been in the university for 4 years now. Started with foundation and then moved on to the university. I've been a part of a few societies in my time here. And I've also had the opportunity to be part of the committee members for the African Caribbean Society for a year. And I currently work with the student union, with the events team. And I think this role is going to be perfect for me because I enjoy working with people. I enjoy creating events. That's like one of my passions, and I believe that events, especially in school, university, is like what shapes most of the students' experience. And I would love to do my part to make students have a great experience in the university. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Anna. And finally, we move on to Gwen.
Not so far. I'm Grant Davis, and I'm eager to represent you as the Societies and Services Officer for the coming year. So my role as Welsh Affairs Officer over the last year has given me a greater perception of how the union runs and works. And so in this role, I contribute greatly to the progression and development of the Students' Union. As a former president of the Welsh Society, I understand the challenges that societies and their committees face. I aim to implement significant changes to ensure that these challenges can be tackled efficiently. For too long, societies have been in sports' shadows, and it's about time that societies get the respect and opportunities they deserve for their hard work every year. Society should receive similar treatment, as everybody deserves an equal opportunity. I want to listen to what you have to say, as it's your Students' Union, and nothing's more important than the well-being of our student community. I will hold drop-in sessions, whether it being an issue with society spaces or a lack of diverse selection at our services, to ensure that your voice is heard. I'm passionate and determined, and so I'll do everything I can to represent you to the best of my abilities.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, candidates. What I'll do now is I'll just quickly remind everyone, if you want to post any questions to the Societies and Services Officers, I'll ask one of my lovely colleagues to repost. There we go. We've got the question form back up in the chat. So if you have any questions, just click on that and we can ask them as we go on through. Otherwise, we shall move on forward to our first question. So if you, candidates, if you need me to repeat it, just please ask and we'll go through. Otherwise, I'll post it in the chat for yourselves and for all of our wonderful listeners. So number one, we are a dual campus university. How would you try and support societies and services to hold events and regular meetings on both campuses? And if we go over to Anna first.
Thank you. I think depending on how frequently each society has its meetings, I believe that a society should have meetings both on Singleton campus and on Bay campus, just for the accessibility for students. And I would help by making sure there's like a fixed routine and making sure resources are always available for the societies. For example, like meeting rooms. Societies don't need to have to always look for meeting rooms and be told that spaces are not available. So I'll make sure that those kind of resources are always put to place. And for societies like sports societies, it's easier for them because on Bay, there is an outdoor field, there is a basketball court, there also is a sports hall, as well as on Singleton, there's a sports center. So it's easier for sports societies to be able to move through the two. So as a societies officer, I'll just make sure that the available resources the societies need, especially meeting rooms, which I think is really important, they will have readily available to them.
Wonderful, great answer, Anna. We'll pass the next question on to Gwen. So Gwen, how would you try and support societies to hold events and regular meetings on both campuses?
I think it's plain for most students to realise that a lot of the things that societies do and all the spaces that we have are mostly on Singleton. So I think that one thing we could do to help with this is to find availability, to find additional spaces on Bay campus to what the union has already secured there. So I think it's important that the Bay students are recognised. So with increased availability of society spaces on Bay, students will be able to find their community early on or right on their doorstep. It's important that societies get to host their events on both our campuses, as the university and the Students' Union are at the heart of what they represent. And so it's the least that we can offer, spaces on both campuses. We should be proud of the societies, and I will also support in publicising the events that the societies put on both campuses, encouraging engagement and ensuring that the student community are aware of the great work that they do and showcasing the fun experiences that all our societies do provide.
Brilliant, fantastic answer, Gwen. We're going to pass the question over to Amy. So Amy, how would you try and support societies to hold events and regular meetings on both campuses?
So as Gwen has said, that basically from my experience, working within a society and being parts of loads of different societies, is that there are definitely students from Bay campus and Singleton campus, but there's way more priority, I think, for student Singleton campus members. And I have several ideas. First of all, to really ensure that Freshers' Fair is definitely set up on both campuses. I wasn't sure if it was set up this year on both campuses, but in previous years it has been. I would like to set up perhaps a monthly reward system. So the more events that a society holds on both campuses, an award for the society or club that ran the most events on the opposite campus could perhaps like get free pizza or free tickets to SU events, or even sometimes free merch. I want to offer societies, their members in particular, especially those for disabled people or people with sensory issues, perhaps free transportation to and from Singleton campus to Bay campus, because number one, joining a society, especially if disabled or have sensory issues, could be a very daunting thing. So that and the additional travel, I really would like to support that and support inclusion within the society process. I was wondering, depends on how much the SU can provide, but maybe free transport or ticket fee from the SU for committees to have basically free buses or transport to and from the different campuses. It depends on the budget. And I'd also would like to work directly with the committee of individual societies to see where they're struggling and what the needs of the society are, and to help them basically.
Awesome, great answer, Amy. So moving on to question number 2. As Societies and Services Officer, you will represent and contribute to the running and development of our many union services. What suggestions do you have about gathering feedback to ensure that services run by the Students' Union represent and provide what students actually want? I'll pass that question to Gwen to begin with.
Yeah, with gathering feedback, I believe personally that it's always better receiving feedback face to face, as it's easy to gather the students' opinions. So I'd roll my sleeves up and I'd go to our services and question students about their experience. So I'd hope to gather from this research then some findings about their thoughts on such things as prices, practicality, and diversity of selections and options, which I have mentioned in my manifesto, as I currently believe that there isn't a diverse selection of options on campus. And of course, in addition to this, I believe that, you know, my emails and social media then would be open. So people, if they've got any opinions on new stock that have come in or something they want included in our services, then they can feel free to send me a message. And then the more information I get from students, the more I can try and implement it to the best of my ability.
Brilliant, great answer, Gwen. That was fantastic. Moving on next, we are going to go to Amy. Amy, can you answer for us?
I would like to work with the media team in the Student Union to create an online form that would be anonymous, maybe even potentially add it to the SU page or send it by email, to give a reward to people who have submitted a question, or so people can submit questions or feedback on certain services. I know in previous years, when talking about the election campaigns, there have been rewards for a number of votes for voting in the elections, and I would like to implement a similar process if I were to be voted. So if there were, I don't know, 500 responses, the student union could provide like free pizza, or if there was 1,000, then maybe we could provide some sort of event to really encourage people to offer feedback for our services. Maybe hold drop-in sessions for people to come in and to basically give face-to-face feedback as well. I'd also like to have social media open so people could drop in their messages. And I'd also check social media such as SwanFest to listen to anonymous feedback given by the wider student community.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, Amy. Anna, over to you. Same question again.
I think it's harder for students to give feedback face to face. One, because they don't know exactly who to go to give the feedback, and sometimes they might not be comfortable like giving feedback face to face. So I believe it's better to do that anonymously. And I think by putting up suggestion boxes on campuses like in Fulton House or maybe in Faraday Building, putting suggestion boxes around, and students can put their feedback or suggestions on what they think the SU can do to improve services. They could just put like short papers or things in the suggestion box, and that will also be anonymous. So I think that will make them feel more comfortable. Also, another easy way for students to give feedback is by social media. I think social media comes in handy in that. And the student union page or the student union staff page could just put up some polls or some Q&A boxes just for students to put in their suggestions and their feedback. And the SU will obviously work to implement those feedbacks. Maybe for the suggestion boxes, check the suggestion boxes like twice a month, so the students will actually know that their suggestions are being heard and they're being implemented or worked upon. Thank you.
Brilliant, great answer again, Anna. Yeah, there were really three strong candidates here. So moving forward, thank you again for answering our SU questions so well, guys. We're going forward to the floor questions. We've got sports teams get varsity, they get captain's bar, and they get so much more than societies do. What would you introduce to reward societies to show their value to the university? If I go to Amy to start.
That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think it would be really nice to hold sort of like a society like event, like an almost like a ball, but for societies and for committees especially, to sort of like mix and integrate and make new friends and be celebrated for their efforts. Sorry, I'm going to read the last part of the question. I really like Societies of the Month and Society of the Year. I think there needs to be more emphasis on that. I think that it should be promoted more about how much and what societies do, but I can appreciate that it's perhaps not as much as what sports societies get given. So perhaps in a similar manner, we could do sort of club nights as tutors for committees and for society members. We could hold like a winter or a summer ball to support societies and their committee members, and maybe even have like a society bar, that sort of thing.
Brilliant, great answer, Amy. Who should we go to next? I think we're over to Gwen.
Hi. Well, funny enough, as I mentioned earlier, sports do get a lot more than societies, I believe. One thing that societies do get, though, and I think should carry on, is the awards night at the end of the year for all their hard work, because it's important that they get the recognition that they deserve for the year of hard work that they have done. I also believe that they should get the same incentives as well, such as, well, they said about we got the captain's bar. What if we have the same sort of system for maybe when tutors opens, that societies get sponsored by them and by the union? You know, we could even have sponsored by Root or anything like that. So yeah, I think incentives like this and such trainings we can offer would be really beneficial, as yeah, I think societies do need to be heard more. So I think it'd be important to hear what they want as well, as it is them that would be benefiting from such events that would be put on for them.
Yeah, really relevant again, Gwen. Thank you for that. And we go to Anna.
I know that the SU currently does the Society of the Month, but like Amy said, there isn't much awareness about it. I only know because I was once a committee member, and I think there should be more awareness about that. It should be like more of a celebration, not just like an undercover thing. And I think that would give societies more like incentive to do more work and to put themselves out there more. And also one of my manifesto points was to make a collaboration between societies. And I think this will also help, because when societies collaborate and see each other, it could be like an event. And at the end of the event, there could be different awards for, different categories, not just one category, because I think that would make different societies feel like they're included in things, and also give them the incentive to want to work harder to achieve one of those awards. Okay.
Yeah, really valuable, Anna, that. Cool. Moving on to question 2. There are a lot of societies that you'd be representing in your role. How would you ensure that all societies are represented and can seek support? If we go to Gwen first.
I'd like to think that I'm an approachable human being. So hopefully if people want to talk or anything, then they could email me and I'd be able to schedule in some time for all societies. It's important that I don't prioritize some societies over others, because all are as important as each other. And so, yeah, I think the only prioritization I could do there is with events happening close on. But that's about it. But I really think that holding drop-in sessions as well for societies during specific times, so if anything does crop up, they know where to find me, they know when to raise these issues, and that they'd feel welcome to come and speak to me and not feel scared. So yeah, I would want to be open and let them come to me on specific hours, just so I can make them and maybe feel a bit better about their issues.
Yeah, that's important, Gwen. Great answer. If we move over to Anna, if you want to go second, Anna.
Like I said, there are many societies and some overshadow some. But I think it's important to reach out to the smaller societies, the societies that don't have a lot of members or don't have a lot of visibility. And I think it's important to just encourage them, all the societies, but majorly like the smaller societies, reach out to them and encourage them, especially to show themselves more, especially on social media, because I think social media is a very huge tool which they could use to just make themselves more visible. So I think reaching out is very important, just to show them that the kind of struggles they're facing, and they're not left out just because there are other societies that are more like out there.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Anna. And finally, Amy.
I would promote drop-in sessions both online and Zoom. That gives people opportunity to come to me face-to-face or have it sort of like online. When I've used drop-in sessions before with society, usually it's been over Zoom. It sort of gives people the comfort of coming to me for whatever they need. I would really promote the use of email and social media to contact me, or have office hours. And I would like to basically maybe give societies perhaps some sort of like sessions or training on how to like really promote their societies through social media, and basically discuss whatever issues they have. I would also work with the welfare officer to basically ensure that everyone is supported within society committees and within society themselves. if there are any sort of microaggressions or discrimination, especially sort of racial discrimination. I would work with the Black minorities officer to basically ensure that everyone's treated fairly, and I would really promote inclusivity and awareness, basically.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. That was great. Thank you for your time as well. If I could ask you all just to plonk your socials into the chat, just so everybody that's paying attention can join in and have a little look at all the extra things you're going to be running throughout campaigning. But otherwise, massive well done. So just to go through our 3 officer candidates for Societies and Services are Amy Shawley, Anna Edozen, and Gwen Davis. Fantastic, brilliant. Cheers, guys. Fantastic. So we're moving on to our final role of the evening, and that is the President Officer role. Guys, if you want to flick your cameras on. Brilliant. So the officers that we have running for President are Esith Rosser, we have Femi David, we have Jay Chowan, and we have Stephen Imhontu. Unfortunately, Femi, Jay, and Stephen can't be with us this evening, so conversation between me and Esith. So Esith, you have 1 minute to introduce yourselves. So over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. My name's Esith, or S. I'm originally from Cardiff and I'm a fluent Welsh speaker. I did geography for my undergraduate degree and I'm just finished up a master's in politics. I'm the current Societies and Services Officer. So this academic year, I've been working full-time for the Students' Union. I really think that my time at the SU has really equipped me for a role as president. I've learned a lot about how the union operates, how the university operates, what kind of boards and committees that a president would sit on, how you can implement change, and maybe the roadblocks you may hit when you want to implement change. I've also seen firsthand where and how the university and the union can improve. And I think that's a really important trait in a president, understanding that there is ways that we can definitely improve as a students' union. I think the student experience is at the heart of what we do at the union, and I definitely think that that's something that's really, really, important to consider. I've also managed to make really good relationships with key stakeholders at the university this year, including senior leadership team, the council, and also the Senate. And I think these relationships will really help me moving forward. And I'm really determined and really passionate about student experience, and I think that will only help me succeed in a role as president.
Brilliant, great introduction, S. Moving on to the first question. Oh, actually, before I jump ahead, if anybody wants to ask any questions for the president role, can you plonk them back into the wonderful form submission that we've got going on in the chat, and we can refer back to them later on. So back to the first question. So the position of president can be a very ambiguous role. How do you see the role, and what direction would you envisage directing it in if you were to become elected?
Obviously, what comes to mind first when I think of president is obviously the word leadership. I think that's both leadership for students and for the other officers and the Students' Union in general. But I also think that it's also a voice for students directly in the university. As president, you obviously sit on a lot of committees with the university and have really good working relationships with key people at the university. So I definitely think that a voice for students is another way I'd describe it. As for the way I'd like to envisage directing it in, I definitely think that something I'd like to change slightly is making the role more approachable. I think that the term president can be quite daunting. I don't know if necessarily as a student I would have immediately gone to the president of anything, just because it's quite daunting. But I think that moving forward, I'd really like to make the role more approachable. And if you're a student with an issue or with something you'd really like to take to the university, your immediate thought would be to go to the officers and specifically the president. So yeah, I'd just like to make it a little bit more approachable, but definitely a leader and definitely a voice for students.
Brilliant, great response, S. Moving on to the second question. As president of the Students' Union, you represent the entire student body on various boards of the university. How would you ensure that your engagement represents the diverse student body Swansea is proud to have? Over to you.
Yeah, I think Swansea's really lucky to have such a diverse student population. I really think that it only benefits us. I definitely think that a way that would be really simple to implement this would be to use committees we've already got. So we've got committees such as RESAC, the Race Inclusion Student Advisory Committee, and the Disabilities Committee. I definitely think implementing the feedback we receive from those committees directly would be a really useful way of making sure that all students feel represented. I also think something really important is representing international students at the university. We have a really brilliant international officer currently, and I think working really closely with that officer next year would be really useful. I think that setting up something similar to RESAC or the Disability Committee with international students would be really beneficial. So setting up some sort of forum so they can feed direct feedback to us at the union. We can make sure that everyone feels, represented and all as though they're being listened to when we make decisions at the student union.
Awesome, that was fantastic, S. Right, well, let me go over to the floor questions, and have a look at what's coming in. So, that's a good one. How would you address the perceived lack of equality on Bay and Singleton? There we go. So how would you address the perceived lack of equality on Bay and Singleton?
Yeah, I think that's definitely an issue that's come up quite a bit, my entire time at Swansea. I think that there's obviously a lot of infrastructure that's already set up on Singleton, and Bay campus can often feel like it's been left behind. Obviously this year the SU's presence has died down a little bit with Tafarn Tower being taken from the SU, but I definitely think that just student space in general would really help. I think that's something that I've included. That's something I want to achieve as president, but also making sure that the officers' presence is more seen on Bay campus, making sure that our offices in the Toyney are more, they're full every day, making sure that there's union staff down there, especially student-facing union staff, just making sure the officers are there all the time to make sure that students then can feedback their feedback directly and make sure that they feel like they're seeing exactly what they want to see on campus, but definitely providing more infrastructure on Bay campus. But not just trying to guess what sort of infrastructure students want to see, but making sure that we get that feedback directly from students who study and live there.
Yeah, brilliant answer, S. Thank you so much. Question number 2. How would you help student welfare and mental health provisions? It's a huge issue for students, and that affects the wider body for those who come forward and that don't. Over to you.
Yeah, so mental health is actually something I'm really passionate about. I think that there's so much pressure on students nowadays and a lot of students struggle. I think being open with the campaigns that we run is a first start. We obviously run a lot of campaigns that are focused on mental health, but just starting those conversations is a good place to start with, making sure that students feel prepared to come to us with any issues they have. I think working really closely with the welfare officer, that would be in post next year as well, to come up with some ideas of how we can make sure that students see exactly the support they want to see. I'd also like to eventually emulate what they've done with different student groups. So within sports clubs now, they have to have a welfare officer. I think that's something to emulate with societies, or maybe make sure that the student reps are also trained in welfare and other student representatives that work for us. I think that mental health training is really important. So I know we do offer some mental health first aid training. I think training the student staff and the student ambassadors on that would be really important as well, just to make sure that everyone feels, prepared to have those conversations and prepared in those situations where students may need us.
Brilliant answer. Thank you so much, S. So that concludes the president's rounds. Just like to review over the officers that we've got going. That would be Essis Rossa, that is Femi David, that is Jay Chauhan, and that is Stephen Imhontu. Thank you so much. As S, you're here, would you like to throw in your social media handles into the chat, and we can go from there? Awesome. Thank you so much. So a big thank you to everyone for coming along and listening this evening. If you still want to submit questions to the officers that come around later, you can still use that same link. It will still be open all the way through till tomorrow evening. What we'll do is we'll make sure that all the candidates will manage to receive all these questions here, so they can answer them in their own time. We have had several questions come in that we unfortunately weren't able to answer this evening. So we'll make sure again that all the officers will be able to address and see them. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and hopefully you guys can tune in tomorrow night where we address the sports officers and the welfare officers. Brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Take care.